Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth the Motor City Madmouth, and I am proud to be joined by Mel Farr Jr. How are you tonight, Mel?
I'm doing great, Scott. How about yourself?
Doing really good. Looking forward to a 3-day weekend for sure. I've always liked July 4th. It's always been one of my favorite days of the year. So we have some business to do tonight with a couple of broadcasts, and, tonight's going to be neat. I'm the quarterback, and you're my playmaker. How's that sound? Running back, wide receiver, tight end. My goal is to make sure we get into the end zone a lot tonight. So with that said, Mel, let's reflect on something that occurred outside of sports, and that's the passing of Hugh Downs, who was born on February 14th, 1921, died July 1, 2020, at the age of 99. Hugh died at the 99-yard line. So some reflections on Hugh Downs.
The thing I can remember about Hugh Downs, now that I think about it, is, he had that distinguishable voice. He had that voice that distinguished himself from everybody else. And obviously, he was an outstanding journalist and reporter in his field. And another thing that, he went to Wayne State University.
Really?
So that's another positive thing. That's another positive thing about Hugh Downs. But obviously, it's a tremendous loss for the country. I'm sure he'll be sadly missed, but I'm certain he's saying, "Don't cry for me." He got 99 years out of this. I think that both you and I would sign up for 99 right now if we were able to do that. But obviously, it's a sad, it's sad to hear about his passing. But unfortunately, in life, death is a part of life. But rest in peace and job well done.
Yeah, I was always impressed with Hugh Downs' professionalism on the air. I think he did a great job on the ABC News Series 2020. And when he worked with Barbara Walters, they were magic together. Then again, Hugh Downs was magic with anybody. So I want to rest in peace, Hugh Downs. You'll always be entrenched in my mind and my heart. And being in an industry that I'm in, how do you not admire a person of that caliber? So we'll transition from Hugh Downs over to a situation which has far more serious ramifications, and that's the fact that the COVID-19 death toll has surpassed the 500,000 mark worldwide this week. Will the NFL, MLB actually start? And for that matter, you might as well incorporate the NHL or any other sport that you want to talk. MLS, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't know how any sport can even think about starting right now when this thing is spreading the way that it's spreading. When you see the outbreaks in the South and in the West, I don't see how anybody can even think about starting playing any type of sports. Sports are just games. Now, I understand the rationale behind it because obviously there's a lot of money behind it, but we're talking about lives. Lives are being lost because of this pandemic, and I don't know how you even wrap your head around trying to start something, especially football, where there's so much contact involved and there's so many people. There's so many moving parts. You can't get. I don't know how you get your arms around that. How you protect everybody and put everybody in a bubble. Basketball has the best chance because they got everybody in that protective bubble down there at Disney World. Football, there's so many people, so many moving parts. It's very difficult for me to envision an NFL season. I know they just announced today that they're going to have two preseason games. They're going to start preseason one week later and end it 1 week earlier. I don't know what the rationale behind that is, how that's going to help, but I can't see. It's very difficult for me to see Major League Baseball, hockey, football, college football, any kind of fall sports with the way that this pandemic is trending right now.
Yeah, well, obviously, they're doubts starting. One can only wonder, will they finish? Interesting dynamic, Mel?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah, finishing, yeah. But I don't see how the fall sports are going to start. Basketball may be able to finish, like I said, because they're doing it. They're putting everybody in that protective bubble now. I think about 25 players have tested positive thus far. I don't think they start until the middle of July, depending on how each one of these individuals reacts to it. Because everybody reacts to this virus differently. Some people are asymptomatic, really don't have any symptoms, and other people, obviously, it takes them out. So, and then there's everything in between there. So it depends on how these athletes respond as to, whether or not they'll be able to even participate in the restart of the basketball season. So I'm interested to see how they do it. Now, I see they're playing soccer over in Europe, but it seems like Europe has got their arms wrapped around this virus and has got it trending in the right direction. Over here, because of our lack of leadership, this virus is going the wrong way. And it's not the second wave. This is just the tail end of the first wave.
Yeah, unreal. And let's not forget that the MLS is going to be in a bubble as well in Orlando, and there's already being cases reported already. So if it starts early, one can only wonder. With that said, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has said MLB will be lucky to fit in 60 games, and I think Rob right now is wondering, holy Toledo, as you see these numbers spiral the way they are, he's got his head spinning like a top for sure, Mel.
I think everybody's head is spinning like a top right now because I don't think anybody envisioned the virus going the direction that it's going right now. I think that everybody got comfortable in the mid part of May, end of May, thought that this thing was trending in the right direction. California, they thought they had done everything right. They thought that they had, avoided this. Florida, I think they thought they believed they avoided this. And I think Florida opened up a little bit soon, and the next thing you know, this thing is just spreading like wildfire. It's just unbelievable.
Well, Florida surpassed over 10,000 new cases, and toward the latter part of last week, we were in the 9,000s and now 85. So to surpass over 10,000 new cases in Florida, and when you look at a lot of the bigger cities and states like the Nevadas are starting to get rough, California's always been rough. We know that Arizona, Texas, and of course we just mentioned Florida. So, yeah, it'll definitely be a tricky situation. Let's go on to a recent development last week. I know that this is one of the few topics along the lines we're going to discuss since we've done a pretty good job covering it the last several weeks. But I'm actually glad to see that the Mississippi legislature has made history on Sunday with a 4-hour session to change the state flag. The governor signed off on it. Now, let's not kid ourselves, Mel. This is money-driven. Think about the almighty dollar. The Southeastern Conference said there would be no championship events held there, and the NCAA said that as well. So let's talk. If this isn't a money deal, then tell me what is.
Well, the NCAA said that to them a while ago, and they didn't see the need to change the flag at that particular time. I think it just shows that a lot of people were disturbed by what they saw with the George Floyd murder. That they people finally had to take a side. They had to pick a side. They had to choose a side, and I think that obviously Mississippi is a little bit late, obviously, to the party, but I think they're making the right decision. You see right now that the Redskins are facing a lot of pressure right now too to change their nickname from the Redskins, from FedEx and a lot of their other sponsors, and that's money driven as well. The name of their stadium bears FedEx on there, so FedEx and all the other sponsors they carry a lot of weight, and I think that the timing is right, and I think that Daniel Snyder's going to have to make a decision. He's been standing firm for a long time. Probably the right thing to do at a difficult time, which is when he first got the franchise, would have been to go ahead and just change the name. But he stood firm. He dug his heels in, and he stood firm on that. And now here he is faced with losing, a lot of revenue, a lot of ad revenue because of that nickname. And he's going to change the name, but it's going to be for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion. He could have done it for the right reasons because it was the right thing to do. Now, if he does change the name, he's doing it for all the wrong reasons because it's all about money. And that's the only thing that any of these professional sports or any entity is concerned about is the money. Once it affects the bottom line, then that's when people stand at attention and start to listen and say, okay, well, maybe we need to change course here.
Yeah, no question about it, Mel. And I remember when South Carolina ended up doing it, and then they ended up getting an NCAA championship caliber event. So everything you're saying is totally online. All right, we'll go from Mississippi to a player that used to play in North Carolina, and that's Cam Newton, who is now a member of the New England Patriots. First of all, it's an incentive-laden deal, but I think Cam Newton signing with the Patriots actually is a very intriguing move because now he's paired with Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, and while they're used to the prototypical passer, now you have a guy who's a more athletic quarterback. So tell me, Mel Farr, okay, is this a good win-win for both sides, Cam Newton and the New England Patriots?
Yeah, without a question, I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for Cam. He gets an opportunity to hopefully show that he's healthy and he's back to his previous form, maybe 2015 form when he won the MVP, but get an opportunity to parlay this into a long-term deal. It's obviously a win for the Patriots because they're replacing Tom Brady with an MVP caliber quarterback, a proven winner, a proven commodity in the NFL. And also for Cam, I'm hoping that being around Bill Belichick and some of those guys, he'll mature a little bit and take the game a little bit more seriously. I don't know Cam, but I'm just saying from the outside looking in, it just doesn't seem that he took the game as serious as he should and really utilize his athletic ability. Now he's got to, with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, maybe they'll challenge his mind and maybe he'll mature more and take this thing more seriously and really study and really hone his craft and become a true NFL quarterback in the sense that somebody that always making the right decisions, making the plays and making the right decisions and leading the team and I'm sure they're hoping to go to the playoffs and even further, but I think this is a good opportunity for Cam to hopefully mature around a no-nonsense guy like Bill Belichick. And I'm not saying that Ron Rivera is not a no-nonsense guy, but I think Ron Rivera is probably more of a player's coach, and Bill Belichick, he's a little bit different. I mean, it's either his way or the highway. They don't have a problem getting rid of you. So I think this is good for both of them. It's obviously, in my opinion, definitely a win-win for both.
I want to read into this situation a little bit more. Okay, let's take this back to the Denver Broncos. Josh McDaniels, their head coach. He brought in Tim Tebow. He was looking for a mobile quarterback. So this almost has Tim Tebow written all over it with Josh McDaniels, the Cam Newton, and of course Bill Belichick figures, what do I got to lose? He knows what he has as quarterback. I believe that Jared Stidham could potentially be a franchise quarterback, but he needs more time. Brian Hoyer is a serviceable guy. But Cam Newton, and again, this falls into the Patriots' way of doing things. If you can get a guy fairly reasonable and plug him into your system, that's how they've always done business. So can you see any viable comparisons with Tim Tebow, albeit it's certainly a much different quarterback? But the idea of the
only thing that's similar is the mobility. Cam is a much better thrower of the football than Tim Tebow. Cam is much more athletic. Cam is much bigger. I mean, I've looked at some of the Instagram things that he's put out on Instagram. I mean, he's chiseled right now. I mean, he looks like a Greek god right now. He is working hard. There's no question about that. Hopefully it just all translates over to the football field if they get an opportunity to play, and hopefully he's able to learn some things from Bill Belichick and from Josh McDaniels and mature a little bit. I don't know. The weapons are the same weapons that Tom Brady had, but I think he has a little different wrinkle to it because of his ability to run the football. So I think it opens up a lot of things for New England that they never had, that they haven't had in the last 20 years. Because they've had a pretty, a guy that was just a drop back passer who's just going to be stationary back there in the pocket. So now they have an opportunity. Josh McDaniels has an opportunity to get, to use his imagination, and I'm sure he's probably pretty excited about this opportunity as well to work with Cam. I mean, who wouldn't be? Well,
there's no secret that Tim Tebow's mechanics weren't very good, and that's what I think Josh McDaniels is hoping to try to figure out in Denver. I agree with you 1,000%. Okay, Tim Tebow and Cam Newton can only be compared for only one reason, and that's only the mobility. That's where the similarities really, really, really end. So you're really dead on target there, Mel. Okay, you touched on this. Now we're going to go into things a little bit more deeper, okay, that the NFL has indeed eliminated two preseason games. First of all, the NFLPA has to sign off on it. I don't think that'll be a problem. But what are your thoughts about the NFL eliminating two preseason games? Let's not forget about the fact that when your dad played, I believe once upon a time there were 6 preseason games. And then they reduced it down to 4, and now we'll be down to 2. So let's go deeper into the 2 preseason games, Mel.
Yeah, and I think the PA will sign off on it. I think the rationale behind it was that they're trying to give the guys more time to get into game shape because they didn't have any spring conditioning. Guys weren't able to lift weights in the facility. They haven't been around the facility. So everybody's in various degrees of in shape or condition-wise, and they want to try to get everybody on the same level as far as conditioning. That's why they pushed that. They got rid of that one preseason game. Obviously, they got rid of the Hall of Fame game as well to give everybody an opportunity to get in camp and get in some type of football shape before they went out in the football field. Because obviously, you can get hurt if you're not in shape. But I think that's the rationale behind it. That makes a whole lot of sense. Eliminating one preseason game before the regular season, again, I don't know how that factors into this COVID-19 thing. Maybe it's just kind of they're just trying to see how this two preseason game will work before they go ahead and finally institute it with the new 17-game schedule that they'll be coming out with, I believe, next year. But, obviously, players, they love it. The veteran guys love it. But for a free agent or for a rookie, it makes it more difficult for them to make the club. But that's where you have your opportunities to make the club, because most preseason games, that's when the rookies get an opportunity to play and to get an opportunity to showcase what they're able to do, what they can or cannot do. So it's unfortunate because they have not been around the facility, they have not been around the team, they have not been able to go into the weight room and all that kind of stuff and develop a kind of a rapport or chemistry or anything with the coaches or the training staff or anybody. And they're just going to come in there and have to, have a very short window of time to be able to show that they belong in that league. A lot of guys made the NFL and had productive careers because of what they were able to do when they had the opportunity in the preseason.
Yeah, I think the new trend down the road anyways is that you're going to see more and more teams scrimmage with each other. So, yeah, the timing of 2020 certainly eliminates the two preseason games. But down the road, you'll see, like, for example, the Detroit Lions and the Pittsburgh Steelers could be scrimmaging on a given week, and then they may scrimmage with the Browns and things like that. So, yeah, you're
this year they're not going to do that. They eliminated that this year because of COVID.
Right, but I'm saying
they're not going to be able to have those scrimmages.
Right, but I'm saying that in the future, that may be the new way. Listen, Mel, everything's being eliminated because of COVID, right? I don't even know what my press credential situation is going to look like. I want to think I know what my schedule is, because full well that I have a very busy football schedule between college and a couple of pro teams, and I get that. So, yeah, everything's out the window. But I do see that the scrimmages will probably be the wave of the future. So, but, yeah, two preseason games. For all we know, you may not have any of this COVID-19 blows up. So we're going to go to a sport that we really never talk about, and that's the fact that the French Open is planning to play in September. Actually, the dates for that tournament are September 27th to October 11th, 2020, and they're talking about 60% fans in attendance. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, over in Europe, it's a little bit different than what's happening over here. I mean, they have their arms wrapped around this virus a little bit better. They have a little bit more control over it. So, and then that's an outdoor arena. So, I mean, tennis is another one of those sports because you don't have a whole lot of people congregated in one area as far as the participants, that they have a real chance of being able to have something, kind of like golf. 6% occupancy, that may be good. If they're all wearing face masks outside, I don't see a problem with it. I don't think that's too ambitious, especially in September, and especially the way that their numbers are trending. I see that as a viable possibility.
Do you really?
With the way the numbers are trending in the EU, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a viable possibility. Again, the big thing is the participants.
Right.
The participants are healthy. Okay, you can have tennis matches. If they want, if they've got their arms wrapped around this virus, and they're mandating that people have to wear masks while they're in there, 60% occupancy. That means people aren't sitting right next to one another.
Right.
There's a good possibility. Yeah, I see that as a viable option. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, what I've heard is that groups of four will be able to sit together, then they'll have enough space with the next group and so forth. So apparently they have it pretty well figured out about what they're going to do. And again, September, between now here, what are we looking at? July 2nd. There's still some time, like 10 weeks to really get a handle on it. So perhaps you're right that things will be further ahead. All right, well, you talked about the NHL. Now we're going to go exactly to that. The NHL's talking about two hubs, but they figure to be in Canadian cities. But I truly believe, Mel, that the NHL will be most likely to finish because you're talking about guys that are heavily equipped in a colder arena. And to me, that of all the four major sports, to me, does look like a viability. But then we also talked about the French Open out in France. But what about Canada, where I don't think the virus is spread out, and of course the country is much wider. So I think that the NHL could indeed finish. What are your thoughts about the fact that the NHL will be in two hubs? I think the two cities that they're talking about are Edmonton and Toronto anyhow.
Yeah, anytime that you can put the players in a bubble, I think you have a better chance of succeeding than if you don't have the players in a bubble. And, with the NFL, if you're not limiting the players' activity, if they're able to go out and socialize and congregate with whoever it is that they want to congregate with or socialize with, then you don't know, who those people have been socializing with, and the numbers just multiply so rapidly that you're putting everybody at risk when you do that. But if you're able to contain this thing, put everybody in a bubble, then you have a much better chance of being able to have a season than if you did not. And, that's one thing that they have not talked about with the NFL. I don't even know if that's a viable option for the NFL to have, to put everybody, to have a couple places where they house everybody and play all the games in neutral sites somewhere, wherever that may be. I don't think that's something that's been discussed. But if you're able to do that, you're able to isolate the players and put them in that protective bubble, then you have the better chance of being able to start and complete a season.
Yeah, and the NHL's agendas, they figure Toronto, should they use the Toronto area, you have the Eastern Conference, and then, of course, if they're looking at Edmonton, which is a considerably smaller city, for the Western Conference. So I think the two hubs make a whole lot of sense. I want to go back to football for a moment because you brought up a very interesting point. Yesterday, I got wind that the Ivy League is thinking about not playing this fall and doing it in the spring with 7 conference games. And now I just read recently that the Pac-12 is considering that as well. Again, everything is all contingent upon the updates and so forth. But would it be unrealistic to think that college football could be played in the spring and not the fall with just a conference schedule only?
Well, that's obviously everything's on the table. Morehouse announced that they weren't going to have a football season this year. They canceled football. HBCUs already operate at a deficiency as it is, and for them to have to try to put in any type of protocols to be able to play a season this year would probably just put them more in the red. So they just opted not to even have a football season this year. And I read that about the Ivy League, and because they're not competing for national championships necessarily, and those are really academic institutions, and they're definitely looking out for the best interest of the student athlete. It makes all the sense in the world to do that. Does it make sense for the other schools, the Power Five? Yeah, absolutely. It just depends on where this virus is. The way this thing is trending right now, I don't see how anybody can think about playing this fall. I really don't. And especially you look at California right now with the outbreaks that are going on there in California, even here in Georgia, Florida, Texas. I don't see how anybody can think about playing football. Our mind right now should not be focused on playing football. All the best minds should be focused on how can we get our arms around this virus so that we can resume life as normal as soon as possible. Because the sooner we're able to do that, then the sooner we're able to do all the things that we enjoy. If we never do that, then it's going to be a long time before we're able to enjoy the things that we've been accustomed to enjoying. Now, the reason why we're kind of in the situation that we're in right now is because it's just been kind of hodgepodge. One state does this, another state does. Everybody's doing it, whatever it is that they want to do, and it's been very partisan. And that's the reason why we're kind of in the situation that we're in right now, because we just don't have any strong leadership that's really helping guide the states on what they should or should not do. And the longer we have this lack of leadership from the top, the longer we're going to suffer. The longer we're going to be in this pandemic. So So the sooner, somebody is able to stand up and say, hey, this is what we need to do so that we can go ahead and, get rid of this thing, the better off we're going to be. Because I don't know if a vaccine is not going to be here by September. And from listening to the experts, they're talking about a 50% efficacy rate is all they're looking for with the vaccine. So that means it's going to work on 50% of the people, and the other 50% are still vulnerable. So I don't that doesn't make me feel very good. I don't think that makes anybody feel very good.
Yeah, I agree. Again, there's so many. I guess the only thing I could say, Mel, is there's so many variables for sure. And, while everybody can try to get creative with what they think, I still do believe that the NHL has a chance to finish. And back in our old neck of the woods in Detroit, you have the Rocket Mortgage Classic going on at the Detroit Golf Club, which is good, obviously not in front of any fans. And I do believe NASCAR will finish. They seem to be the ones that have it figured out more than anybody. They really do. I mean, everybody else is trying to scramble and figure it out. But NASCAR keeps rolling week in and week out to another venue around the country, so at least we have all that. Well, so let's say
NASCAR is 50 drivers, whatever that, 30 to 50 drivers, whatever it is. I mean, when you're talking about football, you're talking about thousands.
Oh yeah,
players. So the numbers are just different. That's what makes it more difficult. Golf, you're talking about 80 golfers, 120 golfers, whatever to start out. Then it gets cut down to whatever it is, the top 80, top 60, whatever it is. After the cut, and it's individual. So it's an individual sport versus a team sport, and the numbers for football just make it that much more difficult for football to start and finish a season because of the numbers, just sheer numbers.
Oh yeah, and much less the fact that you have a lot more older coaches that could be susceptible to it, although younger people are certainly being exposed to the disease too. So no, I don't care whether they're older or not. Right now, the fact is the numbers are what they are for a reason, and you nailed it right on the head. We really don't know what's going on. We can only speculate to think. But I don't think they're, as much as I'd like to be optimistic, Mel, I don't feel very optimistic as it speaks because it's pretty hard to ignore what's in front of us day in and day out, that's for sure. We can only speculate. Well, I'll tell you one guy who's actually making pretty well with the numbers, okay? Ever heard of a guy by the name of Bobby Bonilla, Mel?
Yeah, Bobby Bonilla Day every July 1st. This guy's going to get paid to 2035. And they deferred they bought his contract out.
Right.
It was $5.9 million, right? And they bought him out, and instead of paying him, they deferred the payments. It was $1 million, something like that.
You're doing a great job with your numbers, so let me just help you out a little bit because I'll give you the particulars, and we're just going to run with it. How's that? All right, Mel? You're right. They actually owed him $5.9 million. Didn't pay him cash up front. The team gives them $1.9 million per year for 25 years, but they were deferred. They started in 2011. They guaranteed at 8.9% interest. Okay, now when you think about the fact that they more than doubled the $12.7 million, they got paid in 2011. The Mets are actually going to pay Bonilla $29.8 million, which would be the sum of all his payments. So if I want to break that down into Math 101 terms, to me it's like a 35-year mortgage at 8% interest. All right, Mel, take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, he's getting another $500,000 a year from another team. He's still getting paid. The reason behind the Mets doing this is because they had money invested with Madoff, and the money was making on paper was making so much money that they didn't want to take the money out. They wanted to keep it with Madoff. Again, their decision was based on greed. They thought their $5.9 million would be better with Madoff than it would be with Bobby Bonilla, but it ended up in the end, obviously, it ended up costing them way more money. It's unbelievable, man. This guy gets a check for $1.1 million every July 1st, and that's until 2035. I think the $500,000, I think that runs out in 2021 or 2022 or something like that. And I forgot who owes them that money. But that's just, what a great deal for Bobby Bonilla. I am not mad at the player, not one bit. That's a great deal for him.
How can anybody be mad at a player that shrewd? I mean, I know I think the figures are varying 1.1, 1.2 million, but who the heck cares? You get over $1 million until 2035. I wouldn't be mad. If anything, you know what? Give me Bobby Bonilla's agent. Really? I mean, come on. Of course, you're right. You bring up Bernie Madoff and the New York Mets got holes in that Ponzi scheme, and let's not face it, the New York Mets ownership has been come into question many, many times. But geez, oh Pete, Bobby Bonilla to be able to, and now it's actually becoming an interesting story to follow every July 1 when they call it Bobby Bonilla Day, Mel. It's just, to me,
absolutely.
Hey, any player that can take advantage of what his worth is, more power to him. I've got no problem with it at all. But when you see these special circumstance deals like what Bobby Bonilla has, how can you not chuckle? You tell me. Nobody that isn't human couldn't chuckle at this because you admire the daylights out of this guy.
I mean, and look at the rate, 8% rate.
Right.
I mean, that's just, unbelievable. Unbelievable. That just tells you how much money the New York Mets thought they were going to make with that $5.9 million in Madoff's fund. Well,
even if you took the interest rate at 3% versus 8%, it's still not making out too bad. The Mets put a little more money in their pocket, but you're right, okay? It is 8% is what it is. And
yeah, these are supposed to be friends, you figure you give them a nice little, 3-4% rate. 8%?
I know. So I've got to ask you, okay, like a lot of everybody that's listening out there, if you got a $1.2 million check every year, what would you do with it? Hey, knowing you with your generosity to helping the youth people out and your kids, what would you do with $1.2 million if you knew you were getting a check on July 1? It would certainly make I'm sure, I know what I would do if I got that. I'd certainly have a nice trip planned for me for July 4th weekend. Then again, nobody is. But what would you do, Mel?
I'm sure. But I'm sure he's living off of that. When I say living off it, it's not like he's burning up $1.1 million a year. But money is the last thing he has to worry about. Obviously, I'm putting it in the bank and resuming my life, living my life as normal, because I know every year I got this money coming in. I'm not blowing it. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna do the same things that I would do if I didn't have the money coming in. Get up and do whatever it is I do. I probably play a lot more golf than I play right now. I'd probably fish a little bit more than I do right now. I'd probably take a couple more vacations than I take right now. But nothing would change. If I give a little bit more money to the church than I give right now, but nothing would change. I do the same things that I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
so more of it.
Well, I believe, and I don't know for sure, okay, that he does live in the state of Florida. And if you're paying taxes on it, there's no state income taxes in the state of Florida anyhow. But I don't know. I'm not a math person, but that $1.2 million, I don't know how much of that is taxable.
I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know either. It's probably taxed at that, whatever rate is. I'm glad to pay the taxes. Whatever it is, I'm happy to pay it. Did you get enough? Did you get it all? Are you sure? Because don't come back. Get what you guys need, and I'm gonna go ahead and live off the rest of it. That's a heck of a problem to have.
Yeah,
that's a problem we all love to have.
Yeah, no question about it. But hey, Bobby Bonilla, if you're listening out there, we know full well you had a lot of fans playing as when we were watching you, but I'll bet he's got a lot more fans there because of the shrewd business deal that he negotiated to begin with. So I'm a Bobby Bonilla. I admire the guy. He really did. He was wasn't that bad of a baseball player either.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
I believe he won a championship with the Florida Marlins at the time. I believe under Jim Leland. I don't know for sure, but regardless, Bobby Bonilla was a fine player for sure. So, all right. Just to give everybody a little bit more information about what Mel and I are going to be doing with the show. Okay, in the coming weeks, Mel Farr will be having a rotation of different people coming on our broadcast. And I think it's good for you, Mel, because now we get to challenge each other with a different voice every week. How do you like that format? And, of course, Rick Curdy will continue to be on this broadcast from time to time. How do you like the idea of having a new teammate in this three-man booth every week?
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I wanted you all tonight on my own because I just felt like this was an opportunity for me and you just have a little bit of fun on our own, talk about some key points. But I always feel that, I enjoy tinkering with different things and finding different combinations. And Rick's done a great job and continues to do a marvelous job for us. But I like to mix it up for everybody involved to keep everything fresh. So we'll be talking to Rick on this broadcast from time to time. But the more and more that we build the brand here, I just think it's always fun to experiment and do things. What do you think, Mel? Is that your philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So
absolutely.
So with that said, okay, Mel, this is the opportunity for you to go out there and promote everything you stand for. So, Mr. Farr, take it away.
Yeah, I can be reached on all the social media platforms at Mel Farr Jr. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. My email address is melfarjr@gmail.com. And then you can check out what we're doing in Detroit and Atlanta for the youth at melfar.org.
And as far as how you're going to find us, well, you can find us here at Tribune South. Okay, so if you go to Twitter at Tribune South, follow us. Facebook, follow South Florida Tribune. Instagram, South Florida Tribune gets it done. I've got a YouTube channel that will be more active as time goes on. But COVID-19, do me a favor. Get the heck out of here. Okay, although don't hold our breath for a while, right, Mel? All right? The website, and by the way, you can find Mel Farr's profile on there as well, is www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And you can go ahead and find me personally on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. You're listening to the Sports Exchange on the WSAN Network. You can also find these broadcasts on southfloridatribune.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So, Mel, I don't know, what do you have lined up for the July 4th weekend? I know it's pretty hard for anybody to really get away at all.
Yeah, not much. I got a cousin coming in town from Houston. My little nephew plays travel baseball, so I'm probably go out there and catch a few of his games this weekend.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of lay low. Although unless I get the insanity driven in me and want to drive for a while, at least I figure if I'm driving and meditating, I can do what I've got to do. So I don't know. TBD. I know I won't be on the air that much, I know. But, I'm looking forward to a lot of things we have ahead of us. And just to let you know, folks, I will be announcing the guests ahead of time as we promote the broadcast. And, of course, Mel will follow it as we continue to announce these new different guests as well. But meanwhile, Mel, once again, you're the ultimate playmaker and the ultimate teammate, and you're a great teammate, and I'm so proud to have you a part of this operation, Mel. You're a great friend, and once again, the only thing I look forward to every week is let's just see if we can do better the following week, right, Mel?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, on behalf of Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, wishing everybody a great weekend. Do your social distancing and be safe. Good night, everybody.